Alright, what is poppin'? It's ya boy, back at it again with another video at 2 a.m. because sleeping? Why would I do that? We got Pokemon to talk about because finally, after a week of enduring this hellscape, we've got some bans. We're freeing up the NU tier just a little bit, you know, taking away just a little bit of that extra punch that they had given us at the beginning of December. And I'm here to talk about why some of the mons here were banned, and why I think some of the mons weren't banned. Now, somehow my ban votes are actually still messed up. I don't know how Eternally managed that. Um, I, but this is how I voted, except put the do not ban over Indeedee. I think I said to keep that, and to ban Beware instead. I don't know. Honestly, the more I think about it, I don't know why I voted to not ban Indeedee. It might just be because Scarf looked so laughably like weak at times, and Specs felt so easily revenge killed. Anyhow, so let's talk about what was actually banned. We can see right here we had Lucario, Arctozolt, Durant, Heracross, Indeedee, and in Drought. So if you did not know, when we were deciding how to ban, or not ban, how to deal with Sun, there were two options we were given. We were given a Shift Tree ban, and then the other option was a Drought ban. Now, we ended up going with the Drought ban, but I do want to talk about the Shift Tree take, because I made a post somewhere up here detailing why I felt that people just saying, oh, Sun with Drought is just so obviously, objectively abhorrent, because we still have all these other mons like Heliolisk, Charizard, Vileplume. But I didn't think that. My take with Sun was that Shift Tree is the main enabler for all these other options to go wild. I think when you're looking at answers to Sun and the general mons you see on them, what you're going to come across are the following. You're going to come across Flash Fire Fire types. You're going to come across Fire Resists. So you're talking about right there Diancie, Gigalith, which also sets up Sand, which is huge. You're going to be talking about Guge, you're going to be talking about Galgi. These mons that generally don't fold to the coverage. Sometimes they do. And you're also going to be talking about just generally decent revenge killers. So a lot of it was First Impression from Durant, may he rest in peace, Golisopod, and Flygon. You also had some fighting coverage from like, or not fighting coverage, but fighting priority from like Toxicroak, from Lucario, obviously he's gone now, and maybe a couple others. Hard to remember, there's so much stuff. My thing was, because Shift Tree broke the mold and pretty much said, it doesn't matter if you have any of that, I break it. Shift Tree had two defining sets, I think. Maybe not, maybe saying that's a little weird. Shift Tree had two main tools to just give people grief. It had growth and great coverage. I'll list that combination there. So you had Growth, Solar Blade Knockoff, and Heat Wave, and that pretty much negated a lot of the counterplay, because what are you switching into that? Not much. Not really anything. Occasionally a Silvally Steel could maybe take one hit and then do, like, not much damage back. And then you had Protect. Now, I really liked Protect. I thought that was a really cool tech. I was glad that I thought of it on the first day, just, you know, so when I was doing my short laddering session where I bothered with Sun, I could see, oh yes, well, people are going to spam Durant. I'll probably run into a Golisopod eventually, and I'm sure a First Impression Flygon will find its way into my battle. What if I just said you don't revenge kill me anymore? Now, it's obviously a little counterintuitive in some ways, because you're wasting a turn of Sun, but I think it's super valuable if you also just say, okay, you sacked something to get this First Impression user in, now sack something else to get it back in. I thought it was just a really funny interaction. I think it was a really, just, again, another way to show that Shift Tree had a pretty easy way to just bypass what you could do with it offensively as well. Now, there were some interesting points raised by Mary Annabelle in terms of Charizard, some even that I didn't really consider, so props to them. Charizard, in my post I note how Charizard's super potent, but I think, again, the mons that check Sun kind of stop Zard, and in addition, NU Sun teams, generally what you would see is like Xatu is the main just Stealth Rock deterrent, but obviously we have Mold Breaker, Juddergon, and Rhyperior, So in my eyes, I thought it was super easy to get up Stealth Rock now and just limit Zard even further, because that Mon does not have a good time trying to stay around. Solar Power chipping away at it. If you run Specs or like Scarf if you're wild, then you're taking rocks if you ever switch in, and that's just hampering you even further. And then of course Zard's not that fast. It's, you know, weak to, I don't know, a Cellarrock if people are still running Lycanroc. I haven't seen that Mon in a while, but I imagine it's still pretty good. But then you mentioned heavy duty boots as an option on Zard, and I kind of thought about it. And it wasn't enough to make me go back on it and say, okay, well no, we need to ban Drought, or we need to ban Zard too. But it didn't make me kind of think. I was like, well, yeah. And you're still really strong? Yeah. I thought there was some merit there. So we ended up banning Drought as a result of just overall, like, you had Shiftry, you had Zard, pretty much the top two that broke Drought as a whole. And then just some other options like Heliolisk. Vileplume I don't really think got any real usage, but I do think it had the possibility to sprout up if Shiftry won. Anyhow, that's the Drought tangent. You can read the NP thread for more on that. There are a lot of posts from people detailing anything about weather as a whole, really. Disregarding, when I say weather as a whole, it's really just hail and sun. There are a lot of posts on it. And I guess we could go to the next weather-related thing, which is Arctozolt. So this, I actually hadn't seen it since it came back down, and I'm basing everything off of the 9 days we had Arctozolt back then, because, surprise, surprise, NU did not get anything else to deal with Arctozolt that would make it any less broken. Now, the thing about Zolt and why it's so problematic, and this goes back to, think about Alpha NU. When I first saw Arctozolt and I was really hyped about it, Stab, Bolt Beam coverage, we all know this. Bolt Beam is, I believe, still unresisted when you go by types that are in the game. There are a few Pokemon that resist it based on ability. Actually, no, Electric Steel. It's one of the best coverages, though. Electric and Ice have super good synergy. And getting Stab on both of them is really good. And then, of course, the big thing is Bolt Beak. Those stupid double power moves, if I move first thing. Bolt Beak from Arctozolt is really hard to switch into, and obviously your answer would be, okay, well I switch ground type, and okay, have fun getting hit by Blizzard or Hydro Pump, because Arctozolt just has such great coverage. You know, you've got Sub, which negates a lot of the offensive, maybe priority users that try to like pick you off if you get low. You've got a whole bunch of coverage with like Freeze Dry, Blizzard, Stomping Tantrum, Hydro Pump to catch things like Rhyperior and the other ground types. It's just, the Mon didn't really have a good way to deal with it defensively. And Hail as a whole, while it wasn't taking over the ladder, just that combination of Hail Setter and potential Veil as well to support Arctozolt and make it both really hard to take down and really hard to just endure with your, you know, defensive answers, well, led to most of us thinking that Mon needed to go. And then we can go to the really easy one. We have two. We've got Kevin right here, Kevin Durant, and we've got Lucario. Both of these are unanimously banned. I made a very trite post somewhere about Durant. Let's see. Hope this does not show anything. Oh, it doesn't? Oh, that's Pog. Where are you, Durant post? Where is it? Where is it? There's a Roarvale post. I made that post. Someone was comparing Hail teams to Aurora Veil teams and saying, oh look, we need to ban Snow Warning. Because, look, Hail teams, and I'm like, I don't think Aurora Veil teams should be considered Hail teams. Anyhow, where's my post on Durant? It's very short and to the point. I can't find it. But the TLDR is fuck Durant. Was this post up here? This is not, that's the Charizard post. So Durant, there's just not defensive counterplay to it. Its coverage is insane. Hustle as an ability is insane. It gets Hone Claws. It has all the tools it needs to break through any defensive mon you could really conceive of, outside of like kind of fully Fizdef Beware, but even then not really, because you Hone Claws up once and then you two-shot it with superpower. So is that really an answer? No. It's one of the most half-assed attempts at a check that I've seen, though. I can give it that. And then you've got the offensive side of things, where Durant isn't that frail. When you look at priority in NU, most of it's physical, and that mon has, fun fact, its highest stat is its defense at 112. Its HP sucks, but like it's got a good defensive typing, and it's got a whole bunch of physical bulk. So you really aren't picking it off with any sort of priority anytime soon. It's got first impression, so it can, you know, potentially just pick off some random Pokemon that you maybe have out in front of it. It also just gives it a lot of leeway with the revenge killing. And because its base speed is so high, getting something that actually outspeeds it, even with the speed of NU a lot higher than it used to be, is still surprisingly difficult. So that's why Durant went. And Lucario is pretty much in a similar boat. Not as fast, but the combination of mixed and physical sets pretty much removes any consistent defensive counterplay you could have to Lucario. I think the closest thing I found to a defensive check to both sets was Mantine. And like, even then, +2 Focus Blast, 2 shots Mantine. +2 Close Combat, 2 shots Mantine. It's just kind of sad. And the annoying part too is Lucario has priority. So again, boosted extreme speeds, boosted bullet punches, boosted vac waves. Overall, just great coverage. Coherent counterplay to like both Lucario and Durant really just don't exist. They have ways to circumvent both the offensive and defensive checks pretty easily. Doesn't take that much effort. We got rid of them pretty much for that reason. And we get to, let's see, where the next ban, Indeedee. So again, I voted do not ban. I really don't know if I agree with that at this point, but Indeedee's really not that hard to look at and see why we needed to ban it, I think. Psychic Terrain plus Expanding Force equals death. Essentially, Indeedee mandates teams to go Steel type plus really bulky Spadef blanket check mon that can handle the coverage. Now I will say there are some knacks against Indeedee that did lead me to not vote to ban it. For starters, I do think that it's not that hard anyhow in this meta to justify dark types on your teams, and therefore I didn't find it as restrictive as people thought. I think because of Poltegeist, frankly, you really want a dark type anyhow. I think for just other mons like Rotom and surely there are other reasons to run a dark type or not. Dark types are really good. That's one. But I didn't think Indeedee was necessarily restrictive in the sense of mandating a dark type. I think steel types are just always good. But at the end of the day, it's like, it kind of just brute force through everything with spec sets. And then if you wanted to meme on the offensive teams that maybe would give Indeedee a bit more of an issue, you could run Scarf and still hit really hard with Expanding Force under Terrain. You had extra utility as well in Trick to maybe cripple things like Umbreon or Porygon 2, which would be fairly competent checks otherwise. It also, of course, had a lot of boring interactions. I say boring, mostly just unfun interactions with other Pokemon, just like shielding stuff with Psychic Terrain that otherwise wouldn't be an issue. Obviously, banning just male Indeedee doesn't fix that because people just use female Indeedee. But at least that variant isn't as strong, and it's even slower, which helps. The bulk increase that female Indeedee gets doesn't really make up for the loss in speed at all, I don't think. Next ban, the last ban actually is Heracross. This was also, I'm actually surprised that there were no ban votes on this mon, because I thought it was really clear-cut to be too much for the tier. With Heracross, Guts Heracross doesn't have answers, really. Close Combat Megahorn Facade knockoff is very just, you don't pivot around that very easily. There are a couple answers, like Fizdef Palisand with a Colbur Berry can kind of stave it off. Heracross's offensive counterplay isn't that bad because its speed is good but not great. I think it's 85, which leaves plenty of Pokemon to outspeed it. Obviously, Close Combat's got immunities, so you can pivot Ghost types in versus Heracross. Maybe even some like quad resist fighting checks like Sigilif could come in. I'm actually so surprised no one nominated Sigilif. Wow. Anyhow. There are a fair amount of Pokemon that do offensively just deal with Heracross. It's just defensive counterplay is so lackluster. And again, a lot of these mons have a way to fuck up offensive combat too. Scarf Heracross, Moxie, a very legitimate threat. And it also got spikes this gen. So spikes plus knockoff means that this mon really never has a bad mid-ground option. Like, it always can do something on every turn. And just the immense cleaning power combined with the snowballing of Moxie, add that to how great gut sets were, led to me and most of the other council members to wanting it gone. And I guess I could also talk about the do not bans. So, Tyrantrum, I think most of that is, there are competent checks to it. We got like Rhyperior, we got Palisand, we got Fizdef Bronzong if you want to go that route. I think it could also just be, I personally have not seen mini Tyrantrum at all. I think I've seen maybe one. I think maybe also something to do with Tyrantrum not getting banned could have been, there were a lot of mons with priority that was super effective against Tyrantrum running around, like Lucario for instance. And we still will have, I think, several of those as well. Like Machamp eventually is going to be a mon people use. It's got guts boosted bullet punches. That's a thing. But Tyrantrum, what it wants to do, most of it, is spam its stab moves. And you can get punished really hard for that. You don't want to lock into Head Smash because we have plenty of Pokemon that just switch into that. I say just switch into that. You really aren't just switching into a Tyrantrum. But it's not super just spammable. Like, you can be punished for it. And Outrage, I think seeding turns to Silvally Fairy, even in this metagame, is still pretty rough. I'm looking at other fairies in NU. I honestly can't remember many others, which is kind of tough. But Tyrantrum's also kind of slow, so CP isn't as scary as maybe it otherwise would be. I do think Dragon Dance could be really scary with like dual screens, so I might try that out some. Porygon Z, I voted banned, so I couldn't tell you why it wasn't banned. But I would my assumption for the PZ no ban is that it's not impossible to pivot around. You know, adaptability tri-attack is pain, but we do have a lot of solid steel types that can prevent it from making that consistent progress with it. And I think if you're going for boosting sets, finding that coverage that you really want can be kind of tasking. You want Shadow Ball because you want to hit Bronzong, for instance. You want Thunderbolt because you just want to pick off the generally bulky Pokemon. And if you want to go Double Dance, obviously you're complicating things further. Just Nasty Plot, you're still getting outsped by a fair amount of mons. Agility, yeah, you're taking away a lot of offensive counterplay, but you know, you're still not breaking through some options that can check you, like Umbreon, Porygon 2, again, like Zong, Melodic. These are mons that kind of can take at least a hit, maybe impede you a little bit with status. There are options. Sharpedo, and this mon got voted for to be banned in RE, man. Why do we have it? We voted no ban. I think the main arguments have just been that like bulky water types are very easy to fit on teams. That's about it. Beware. I voted actually to ban Beware. I think Beware's insanely stupid. It just... What? Please list the Pokemon that switch into fucking Beware, man. It's like Palisand and nothing else. I don't count Golurt, because Darkest Lariat's fucking that thing up. But like, I think Beware's main thing is that because the tier is so fast right now, because there were so many ridiculously good offensive threats, you kind of had to be fast as well to keep up. I think Beware kind of got forgotten by a lot of players. Similarly to the other just slower fighting wall breakers, I think Pangoro and Machamp are in a similar boat with that. I think we'll see these kinds of mons rise up as the tier develops more. But for now, I'm okay with keeping Beware around. I just, again, where are my checks? Lanoon, this mon was one ban vote away actually from getting banned. It was split even 4-4. I think the main thing people might be still a little bit down on Lanoon is because of the Aurora Veil ban, and maybe just dual screens teams not being very common, at least in my experience. I haven't seen too many of them. I might just have to create a team with Lanoon to use it more and spam it and see, okay, how absurd do dual screens feel in comparison to Aurora Veil, because while that Inteleon dual screens video was sort of a meme, I still felt it was a pretty good archetype. Oh boy. Anyhow, going on, Slurpuff. It lost return this gen, which is a big power drop off because now you're having to run like Facade if you want that normal coverage. And we do have steel types in the tier, one of which doesn't even like, it's not even weak to Drain Punch. Bulky poisons, we have like Vile Plume, and that also has Strength Sap, which kind of makes Slurpuff sad. I think the two Belly Drummers, it might just be that hyper offense that wasn't Drought based is not particularly like prevalent at the moment. I think these mons are ones that could very easily just end up being banned in a few weeks, but for now, sure. Toxtricity, I think there's at least enough defensive counterplay to hold sets like Specs and Shift Gear in check. This mon is really fucking nutty though. It hits super hard with Specs. Because Punk Rock, Boom Burst, pain. Like even Spadef Rhyperior's taking 40. But I think we have enough to hold it in check for now. Again, if without a Shift Gear boost, the mon is pretty arbitrarily outsped. It's base 75. So that's not particularly fast. I honestly feel like a lot of the mons that didn't end up getting banned were primarily because it's just the tier's so fast. Because it's like, you gotta keep up with Durant. You gotta keep up with Heracross. You gotta keep up with Indeedee. Like, you can't let these mons be faster than you. And so a lot of other mons were just naturally kind of kept in place as a result. And in Poltegeist, Side-turning teams with it are annoying, because boosting stored power even further after a Shell Smash is not fun. You can run Sash on it really easily as well and just make it so even if something lives that one hit, they have to they have to take another. I think there exists enough counterplay to it at the moment. I think P2, Umbreon, Dark types in general can kind of bother it. It's not like Sneasel doesn't want to ever try to take a hit from this, but maybe if you could aggressively position a Sneasel around it, then you can prevent it from setting up. Sylvally Dark I don't even think is awful right now. I was trying some weirder utility set with just like max HP, max speed. I took less than half from a Giga Drain. I felt pretty good. I think this mon as well is though up there. And it's a mon that I do want to see how it goes as the tier progresses. I'm also interested if Indeedee female enables like the same stuff to just as much of an effect, because Indeedee male could wall break for that mon as well and get rid of some of the more like generic special walls, maybe that would give it issues. So we'll see. We'll see. But yeah, I think NU, we should start trending in a better direction now. We got rid of, I think, some of the most abhorrent stuff, like some of the very like top of the peak of the mountain kind of stuff, you know, that I think was really holding the tier back. Durant, Lucario, I think just both were just absurd. These were both needing to go. Everything else I could have like made some concession to myself in my head if I had to look at them in the tier a little bit more. Those two being gone, I'm very excited for. I want to be able to see more archetypes of the tier up here, because I feel like we've been super limited to just, I don't know, like boring offense. Building coherent balance is very painful right now. I don't think this ban wave will necessarily solve that, but I think it should open it up. That's gonna be it for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed. I don't know. I'll record a live soon. I want to build a team with some of the bros soon, or just I want to build some teams with some of the bros soon. We'll see how those go. Until then, though, I hope you guys enjoy your day, your morning, your evening, your night, your Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever the fuck day of the week it is, what time of the day it is. I really don't care. I just hope you're having a blast. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.